All right, welcome to another episode of Crimes Notes. This is the last set of notes that you will do before you take your Unit 1 test, and it's called Writing Expressions. Remember, an expression does not have an equal sign. So in this case, this one here, it says simplify the expression. This doesn't have an equal sign. This says equation because it does have an equal sign. So remember, here's the three do nows. This goes back to your properties, so you need to tell me if it's commutative, associative, or distributive, and then justify. In other words, tell me why. This is simplify the expression. Remember, side by side means multiply, so you are going to have to distribute first. Make sure you watch your signs. Okay? And then the last one, this is function notation. This is your most recent set of notes where you're going to evaluate this function if x is -2. So you're going to replace x with -2 and then get your answer. Okay. The things to ponder part, that's also going to be kind of on your own. And what I want you to do is using your foldable, look through these problems that are at the bottom down here. So you're going to look through all of these problems that are down here and see if you can find the words that are in here that mean to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Okay. So again, that's not anything I'm going to help you with. If you want to, you could actually do like highlight add in a color and then highlight the words in a color and then subtract, multiply, divide. That would be an option. Okay. So then once you've done that, then you're ready to start the vocabulary part. Okay, so let me go ahead and fold my paper and get to that vocabulary portion so that you can read it. So the first thing that I've got here as a vocabulary word is the word and I know that that seems a bit strange, but it's different in mathematics what and means. So we're going to put that and tells you where to put an operator. Okay, and again, an operator would be addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. Okay, that's what an operator is. So if you see the word and, it's going to tell you that that's where you're going to put your plus, minus, multiply, or divide. Okay. Then you've got switch words. And again, this isn't necessarily vocabulary for switch words, but you need to know what the switch words are. So the three switch words are less than, more than, and subtracted from. So really what you're looking for is the than or from. So in parentheses you could put look for than or from. Anything that has the than or the from is a switch word, and I'll explain what a switch word actually does in just a second when we get to your examples. Okay. Then the last vocab thing that we need to know is words that require parentheses. So sum, so if you see anything that says the sum of quantity, those types of things. Okay, sometimes times, but not all the time. We'll kind of look at how to tell the difference. But for the main thing, those are kind of the words that you're going to be looking for. So now let's look and kind of see how this works. Okay, I'm going to switch pens because that one's kind of, I don't know, it's a little bit fatter than the one that I usually use. So down here, it says the difference of a number and 8. And what I want you to start to do is translate. So difference. Well, difference, if you use your foldable, means to subtract. So I'm supposed to subtract a number. Well, anytime you see a number, that's your variable. And I don't care what variable you use. You can use X, you can use N, you can use P, you can use the first initial of your name. I'm always going to use X. So then we've got a number means X. And again, difference meant to subtract. And then we have 8. But then here's that magic word that we were talking about. We have that word and. And tells us where to put the operator. So this is telling us that we are going to subtract X and 8, which means that this operator needs to go in that spot where the and is. So it needs to come over here. So if I was actually going to write this equation, I would put X first, then I'm going to put my minus for the and then I'm going to put my 8. So the difference of a number and 8 turns out to be X minus 8. So same type of example, 3 times the difference of a number and 17. So if you notice, the second half of this really didn't change. What we do have is this first part, okay? So before we do this one, let's go down here and see what it means. Because remember, we said times means that we're going to require, whoops, got to slide my paper. We said that times, a lot of the times, means we're going to require parentheses. So I'm supposed to take 3 and then times the whole thing that I put next. So I would put a parenthesis, and then I have difference, and then I have a number again, so that means we're going to put X, and then there's that and 17. So again, when we have the and in between that, that basically tells me that I'm putting this symbol into that and spot. And then at the very end, I would have to close my parentheses. So I have 3, and then parentheses, because I don't have to put times, because parentheses mean to multiply. And then I would put the subtraction sign next, but it goes in between. So then I have X minus 17. So 3 times the difference of X and 17. Good. All right. And then the very last one, and why for some reason I use the difference on all of them. Luckily we've got more than and subtracted from and sums and all of those kinds of things on different problems. But let's go through again. So difference, remember that's our subtraction sign. 22, so there's that. There's our and, so remember that's going to tell us where we're putting the operator. So that means this subtraction sign has to go into that and spot. And then we have the square of m. Well, that just means we're taking the exponent of a 2 and putting it on the m. So the difference of, so I've got 22 minus, because there's the and, the square of m. So that would be m squared. Good. Okay, so let's see if we can kind of combine that with our quantity stuff. So I am going to kind of skip over to this third column. We're going to continue to translate and see if we can write them. Again, if you notice in this one, we do still have that and. But I finally chose a different word, and we're using sum. So instead of subtracting this time, we're going to add. So I have 11 times. So remember, we've got 11. Times means we're going to do parentheses for multiply. Sum means we're going to add. A number is X. And tells us where that operator is going to go. So this plus sign has to go over into that and spot. And then we have 2. And then we would close our parentheses. So I have 11 parenthesis. then the next thing I would write is a plus, except for that it moved over here. So the next thing I see is an x. So I do x, then my and, which is plus, and then my 2. So 11 times the sum of all of this. So x plus 2. Good. So we keep going. The quantity of a number and 4 divided by 2. So again, here's our and. Quantity is parenthesis, so I've got to take the quantity of, so I've got a parenthesis, a number, which is x, and 4. We don't have an operator. Interesting. And that would be the end of the quantity, and then we're supposed to divide that by 2. Okay. So the quantity of, let's go with sum. We're going to, I guess quantity, we're going to assume that we're adding, although that's a poor assumption. So this is what I get for copying a problem from somebody else. It should say the quantity of the sum of a number and 4. So we're going to go ahead and put a plus. So of, we'll put the sum, and then we'll put a plus sign in here so that we know that we're moving it into this add spot. So now I have the, so parenthesis, x, then our operator, so plus 4, close, and then all of that is supposed to be divided by 2. Good. All right. So the ones at the bottom here, 4 times, so we said 4 times means parenthesis. Difference means we're subtracting. Then I have 8. Then I have that and again. So I know I'm going to be taking this subtraction sign and putting it into that and spot. And then this time they didn't say a number, they just gave us b, which makes it kind of easier. And then we would close our parenthesis. So 4, next is parenthesis, next is the minus sign, but it moved. So then I would put 8, because that's what I come to next, then my and, so that's the minus, and then the b. Good. All right, so the last thing that we kind of talked about is switch words. And so on these, we said anything with the than or the from. So less than is going to be a switch word. Actually, I should probably use a different color. So let's do purple. So less than is a switch word. More than is a switch word. And subtracted from are switch words. So what that means is that whatever's on the left side of it goes to the right, and whatever's on the right side of it goes to the left. So they're going to switch. In other words, if I was 10 years less than you, I would have to take your age and subtract 10. So that's why we do the flipperoo. So we still have 5. We have less than, which would mean to subtract. We have half, which means the actual fraction half. And then we have a number, which is x. So currently I have this, 5 minus half x. But remember, we have to perform the switcheroo. So this whole thing and this whole thing, you can't just move the numbers or the x separately. These are going to do a switcheroo. So I'm going to leave it the same, the minus sign, but I'm going to take this and flip it to the front. So I now have half x, and then I'm going to take this side and flip it to the back like this. So this is how you would translate 5 less than half a number. All right, so same thing. Let's look at the next one. I have 7, more than is plus, 3 times, and then a number. Now again, we said times can mean parentheses, so if I want to put parentheses, I can. A number is x, and then I would have to close the parentheses. So what I have right now is 7 plus 3 times x. But we know that this is a switcheroo, so this on the left side of the plus sign and this all on the right side have to switch. So once I switch it, 3 times x goes to the front. Well, 3 times x is 3x, so I'm going to put 3x on the left side of the plus sign. Then there's my plus, and then I'm moving the 7 to the other side. So this is 7 more than 3 times a number. Good. All right, last one that I'm going to do with you. This says 20 subtracted from, so that's minus. Twice means to multiply by 2, and then a number is x. So if I write what I see, 20 minus 2x, but then because subtracted from is a switch word, we're going to take this, the left side, and the right side, and do the switcheroo. So then the 2x comes first, the minus stays in the middle, and the 20 comes second. Okay? All right. So at the very bottom of this is some practice for you to do. So the sum of 6 and a number, 5 less than 3/4 a number, the product, remember, if you're not sure, check your foldable, decreased by, quotient, those kinds of things. So I've given you your own to practice on. Okay. If you have any questions, remember, you can always ask. Then once you're done, you'll be ready to start the next video.